secret excavation beneath Temple Mount. The dig took place. The town is quickly engulfed in a fiery inferno. The death toll varies, but in one manuscript, it's at 50,070.
Ain't no way. That's a very specific number too. What the hell? Alright, this is an interesting suggestion by my channel member. Is the Ark of the Covenant really lost?
The Ark of the Covenant. According to the Hebrew Bible, it's an ornate gold box supposed to have housed 2 stone tablets containing the original 10 Commandments. As well as being a sacred artifact, there are several stories detailing its immense power, used by the Israelites in warfare to destroy enemy armies and flatten entire cities. However, at a certain point in the biblical account, it vanishes, never to be seen or heard of again. Although many believe that it was destroyed when a Babylonian army besieged Jerusalem in 587 BCE, there's evidence to suggest that it's still out there, waiting to be discovered. Some say that it's in an undiscovered cave in the Judean desert, sealed away for millennia. Others claim to have actually seen it, and that it's safely kept in a church in Ethiopia.
Bro, what?
Yet others still say that it's in the very place it went missing, in an underground vault deep below Jerusalem. The whereabouts of this mythical Hebrew object continues to elude biblical archaeologists. It's often the subject of wild and elaborate speculation, with entertaining yet unsubstantiated conspiracies as to its current location.
So then how the hell do we know what it looks like?
That's where I hope to come in. I want to investigate this matter carefully and really separate the fact from the fiction. So with that, let's ask the question: is the Ark of the Covenant really lost? Historically speaking, the precise origin of the Ark is unknown, but the Bible offers its own version of events, which can be found in the book of Exodus. After escaping slavery in Egypt, Moses and the Israelites were camped out at the base of Mount Sinai. Then, suddenly, the earth shook and smoke appeared on the mountain's summit, and the voice of God called out from above. He commanded Moses to ascend the mountain, and there he stayed for 40 days and 40 nights. When Moses returned, he carried with him 2 stone tablets. Inscribed on them were the 10 Commandments. These 10 sacred laws constituted part of the covenant, a divine pact between God and the nation of Israel. The Israelites will become a cherished people of God, provided they follow his laws. Shortly after, God demanded that Moses construct a chest, or ark, to safely house the 2 stone tablets. He then gave a very detailed description on how it is supposed to look. Quote, "Have them make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. Overlay it with pure gold, both inside and out, and make a gold moulding around it." The description continues, and the ark is supposed to have 2 gold rings on either side, through which large poles could be fitted so that it could be carried. Inside the ark were placed the stone tablets containing the 10 Commandments. Elsewhere in the Bible, we learn that it also stored a jar of manna, the miraculous food substance that appeared in the desert, as well as a wooden staff which belonged to Aaron, Moses' brother. On the top of the ark was an elaborate gold lid with 2 cherubim facing one another. The lid was known as the mercy seat, and it was the holiest part of the ark. It acted as a throne for God, who was said to appear seated on it before Moses and Aaron.
But you can't see God. You can't. God? I forgot. I know God, like the only person to see, like, more of actual God was Moses. Even then, like, he didn't really see anything. I forgot. Yes, it was Moses. I'm not tripping about this. Like, God can't. We literally cannot see God. I made a whole theory about this, like, regarding, like, stars and everything. Because if we see God, we literally just, quite literally, just vanish from fucking existence. Because just his aura, quite literally, his aura is just too. We just can't handle it, bro. We're just creatures, man. You know, literally just.
The ark was then housed in a great tent known as the tabernacle. only Moses and his brother Aaron were allowed to enter the innermost sanctum where the artifact was safely kept. There, it was said that they could communicate with God directly. Taken as a whole, the Ark of the Covenant would have been a truly magnificent thing to behold. Aside from its decorative splendour, it would have represented God's physical presence on earth, as well as containing material symbols of the Sinai Covenant. Many biblical scholars and archaeologists believe that the Ark of the Covenant probably existed. Due to these incredibly precise measurements the Bible offers, it's likely that a scribe was carefully measuring the Ark firsthand and then proceeding to write it down on parchment. What's more, the practice of creating.
This is what I meant by how do they know what it looks like? I'm not talking like the measurements and all that. That's quite easy. But like you see the angels here? The seraphim and all that? Like, how do we know like, what direction they're in, or how they're positioned, or if they're standing? Like, we could clearly see different Ark of the Covenants here, and that's what I'm getting at. Like, how do we know what it actually looks like? Like, I never really realized that until now. Like, that's just pure speculations. Wow. I mean, I believe it was real because, like you said, those measurements are way too detailed and accurate, really and truly.
Ornate ceremonial arks was widespread across the ancient Near East. The Ark of the Covenant has often been compared with ancient Egyptian procession barks, which carried statues of gods that were paraded around cities or transported down the Nile. With the discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun in 1922, archaeologist Howard Carter saw a chest-like object which he initially thought was the fabled Lost Ark. Upon further inspection, however, it was revealed to be a gilded funerary box for the young pharaoh. The similarity to the Ark is indeed striking, except that upon this chest sat the god Anubis, who was there to guide King Tut into the afterlife. Parallels to the Ark of the Covenant can be found outside ancient Egypt. This 9th century Phoenician sarcophagus, housing the body of King Ahram, depicts the storm god El sitting atop a throne guarded by 2 cherubim, which bears a close resemblance to the mercy seat on which the Hebrew god is supposed to appear.
Oh, yeah.
On a side note, this Levantine storm god, El, is believed to be the precursor of the biblical god, who in Hebrew is also often referred to as El, or more frequently in the plural form, Elohim.
Goes back to my theory. This actually low-key just strengthens my theory that I made. I forgot what video. I brought this up in a few videos. A few of my religion reactions. I basically said that I believe a lot, if not most, if not all religions are intertwined. I just put out just a theory just because, and I gave some examples of how. I'm not gonna repeat it here, but I just basically said that I believe that due to cultural differences, that it's just the way how they interpret God and all that is gonna be a whole hell different, right? Like, for example, and I should have pointed this out in my last religion reaction, which one of them was the jinn. Who were the jinn, right? And I pointed out how when they were talking about the jinn, I pointed out how Wendigo, right, the Native American legend, myth and legend, Wendigo, that scared the shit out of me. But I pointed out that sounded very similar to the jinn. And I had people in my comments that were telling me that I had someone told me that yes, Wendigo Wendigo and skinwalkers are considered a jinn, right? So, like, unironically, in Islam, I'm pretty sure I saw that comment there. I was like, wow, that's insane, because, you know, like, Native American myth and legend, you know, they're all the way in America, and, you know, Islam, you know, started all the way quite literally across the other side of the world, right? So it's like, you know, you have these coincidences all the time. You know, I don't really think it's coincidence. I think, you know, people, like, we all believe in most likely the same thing, just most likely different interpretations of it. I also pointed out, like, there might be more than one God, but the God from the Abrahamic religion might be like the ultimate God, like the ultimate creator, right? And when I say God, I'm not saying God as in like God. I'm saying God as in like a being superior, right? Like, a God could mean a whole bunch of things, right? So, you know, when these people have these beliefs in these gods, right? You know, I just threw out a theory that they might they might be real. But, and this is what my mom said. She was like, yeah, they could probably be real, but be like a angel, right? You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't know, just right here, just kind of low-key strengthens that theory. So
these close connections to neighbouring ancient cultures provide good evidence that the Ark of the Covenant probably existed in one form or another, although some of the more mythological elements are of course debatable. In the biblical account, when it came time to travel, the Ark was carried by the priests. It always went 1 kilometre before the people and would emit a column of smoke that would guide the Israelites through their 40 years wandering the desert. When they finally arrived in the Promised Land under Moses' successor Joshua, the Ark miraculously separated the river Jordan, allowing the Israelites safe passage, just like Moses had done to the Red Sea all those years ago. However, if anyone
I didn't know it did that. I did not know that.
handled the Ark that wasn't supposed to, they would meet a terrible fate, for it was soon revealed that the Ark had fearsome, destructive powers. In the book of Leviticus, 2 of Moses' nephews sneaked into the tabernacle and made an unauthorized offering to the Ark. Only priests were permitted to do this, so the Ark set the 2 men on fire, burning them to a crisp. Elsewhere in the Bible, an instant where the Ark is carted off to Jerusalem. The oxen in front stumbled and the Ark wobbled. To prevent it from falling off,
To that, I just simply say, yeah, that's the wrath of God for you. So, you know, people think God is like sunshine and rainbows. I really don't know why. People have sugarcoated God way too much. You don't really seem to understand like the type of person God is. Like, what the fuck? I swear, I be seeing things, bro. Swore I saw like a freaking I just saw like a figure moving across. My eyes are seeing things, bro. I swear. Swore that I saw a shadow moving across on a reflection. I need to stop looking at that, bro, because it's like nighttime. This is why I hate doing videos, because it's nighttime right now. Every time I do a video, in the night, like, I always see some weird, something just weird, bruh. Like I already pointed out on camera. Usually, I usually just ignore it. But like that right there, I'm like, what the hell? Like, what was I even saying? Yo, I forgot what I was. What was I? Oh yeah, the wrath of God. Yeah, I don't know why people sugarcoat God so much. Like that really needs to stop. Like you really, like, a lot of people need to understand God. Like, you know, God is chill, but he knows when to put his foot down. He knows when to put his foot down. Like,
where the ark is carted off to Jerusalem. The oxen in front stumbled and the ark wobbled. To prevent it from falling off, the driver briefly steadied the ark with his hand. Big mistake, for it kills him instantly. Perhaps the most cataclysmic event is when the ark is brought to a town.
What the hell?
Out of curiosity, the townsfolk look inside. As you'd expect, such a transgression would not go unpunished. The town is quickly engulfed in a fiery inferno. The death toll varies, but in one manuscript, it's at 50,070.
Ain't no way. That's a very specific number too. What the hell?
Learning of the Ark's incredible power, the Israelites see its potential as a deadly weapon. Its most famous use can be found in the book of Joshua, where it's used to bring down the walls of Jericho.
Yeah.
The Ark was processed around the city walls whilst horns were sounded. This happened once a day. On the seventh day, everyone was instructed to shout simultaneously. In doing so, the city walls collapsed and the Israelite army came flooding in to slaughter the city's inhabitants. Following God's law, no one was to be spared.
Yo!
The Ark of the Covenant.
Oh my goodness, bro. I swear, bruh. People and God's brutality, bruh. Like, yeah, thou shalt not kill, but yeah, I need you to go and unalive all those people in that city right now.
Was some kind of biblical superweapon. The Israelites brought it to a number of battles in order to unleash its devastating power upon their enemies.
Bro, it's like the biblical
the Ark
nuke.
did not always guarantee victory, however. In one story, it gets captured by the Philistines and is taken away to their capital, Ashdod. There, it's placed before a statue of their god, Dagon. Angered at this, the Ark destroys the statue and then releases a horrific bubonic plague upon the city's population. Fearing the
Holy!
Philistines rushed
Bruh.
back.
I actually did hear that story, but still, this ark is sassy as hell.
The Israelites, who gratefully accept their request. You can see how all these Bible stories about the Ark of the Covenant inspired the 1981 film Raiders of the Lost Ark. In the film, the Nazis seek to use the Ark as a weapon, aware of its destructive powers. In the dramatic climax, they finally get hold of it and prise it open, but in a gory use of melting wax prosthetics, they are all met with a grisly fate. It's good to see that Hollywood is up to scratch with all their biblical research. The Ark causes all the devastation you'd come to expect of it.
Yeah, that's actually cool.
Once the Israelites had settled in the Promised Land, the Ark was eventually placed in a permanent home, the Temple. When the building was finally completed by King Solomon, the Ark was placed in a sacred inner chamber, known as the Holy of Holies. Once a year, on the festival of Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement, the high priest would be permitted to enter the sacred room. There, he would transfer all the nation's sins onto 2 small goats, and then sacrifice them upon an altar, proceeding to sprinkle the blood upon the mercy seat. This, incidentally, is the origin of the term scapegoat. You're welcome.
Wow!
The final mention of the Ark is not its destruction or theft.
That's mad.
Its caretakers were told to move it back to Jerusalem after it spent some time away from the temple. This event took place during the Passover in the 18th year in the reign of King Josiah, which places us roughly in the spring of 621 BCE.
That's
This
not
is
really.
the last known.
That's honestly not, like, historically speaking. Like, yeah, it's ancient. Don't get me wrong, it is, but around this time, I don't know, like cause like how do I explain this? What year are we in? 2025? My math is shitty. Like that's within the range of time where people could record stuff and save it properly, kinda.
Sighting of the Ark, after which it is never mentioned again, disappearing entirely from the biblical narrative. The sudden disappearance of the Ark takes place just before Jerusalem is beset by disaster. About 35 years later, In 587 BCE, the Neo-Babylonian Empire besieged Jerusalem. Under the command of King Nebuchadnezzar II, the conquering army set everything ablaze. The temple was ransacked and destroyed. Much of the population was killed, but those who survived were captured and sent away to Babylon, forbidden from returning home. There they endured great turmoil, as many were forced into slavery. This lasted for 70 years, marking a dark period in Jewish history known as the Exile. After the exile, when the Jews eventually returned to their homeland and rebuilt the temple, there are no references to the Ark. It doesn't seem to have been there anymore. Even when this second temple was eventually destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE, there's no mention of the Ark being taken. A contemporary Jewish writer, Flavius Josephus, offers an itinerary of things stolen, but the Ark is missing. Quote, "The golden table of the weight of many talents, the candlestick also that was made of gold, and the last of all in the spoils was carried away the law of the Jews." There is no direct mention of the Ark, although some have taken that last phrase, the law of the Jews, as a hidden reference to it. To me, it seems a bit unlikely, as in the Roman Forum today, there's a triumphal arch depicting this very incident. You can see all the treasures of the temple, including that golden candlestick, but no ark. This is unusual. For such a valuable and significant treasure, it would have deserved some sort of representation, either by the Romans or by Josephus.
Because it was probably destroyed, or the Babylonians probably took it. Really and truly, it was probably destroyed. I mean, that's not really a coincidence where it suddenly vanished from the biblical storyline right before Jerusalem was completely, utterly wrecked by the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Guys, if there's something that I could tell you to learn, or I could give you advice on, whatever, if something is too much of a coincidence, like, there is a thing called too much of a coincidence. Like, that is actually a thing. Like, if something is too much of a coincidence, like, it probably is. It probably isn't a coincidence. Like, if it's just too much, like, it probably isn't a coincidence. Like, no, like, what you're thinking is probably true. So I believe that just, like, either the Babylonians took it and didn't say anything, or their records got lost, or because, you know, the Babylonian Empire was destroyed, wiped, but you know, lost to time, you know, lost to history, or it was simply just destroyed when, you know, they destroyed Jerusalem. So again, so simple as that.
Inquiry point back to the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem in 587 as the date the Ark officially goes missing. It's likely that the disappearance of the Ark in the Bible is somehow connected to this Babylonian invasion and the destruction of the temple. In the Talmud, a collection of Jewish writings, the rabbis assume that the Ark of the Covenant was probably destroyed that day, either when the temple burnt down and collapsed, or when it was carted away to Babylon. This is possible, but it's also an assumption. Nowhere does it explicitly say that the Ark of the Covenant was indeed destroyed that day. With this lack of evidence, it raises a near infinite number of other possibilities.
Yeah.
Perhaps the Ark was hidden somewhere safe before the arrival of the Babylonians. Or perhaps it was never even there in the first place. It may be out there today, waiting to be discovered. These possibilities we turn to now.
But like, if somebody went and hid it, such an important piece like that, if someone went and hid it, surely they would have a piece of info to go and get it. Or if they hid it, I don't know, because I could look at this two ways. They didn't have enough time to escape, but they had enough time to hide it. So they were probably either killed or captured. Or, I don't know, actually. Like, what I just said there is a possibility. I'm really thinking, and honestly, like, that doesn't make any sense, because surely they would there would be some type of like if they hit it, they would have had to tell somebody else. Or maybe they did hide it and just got captured for real. Didn't have time to do that. Or maybe the people that they told just somehow died. I don't know. Guys, stuff like this gets lost. So he is right. There's honestly an infinite amount of possibilities. But what happened between that time and the time up to the Babylonian destruction of Jerusalem? We have to ask that question. Like, how were people taking care of the ark? Was the ark being moved around a lot? Right? We got to ask these other questions. We can't just look at the time where the Babylonians just destroyed Jerusalem. You gotta like ask like what was going on with the ark leading up to that point, because that would honestly help a lot in like deciding like what truly happened. Was the ark being moved around? Was it not being moved around? If it was not being moved around, then we could safely assume that, well, when the Babylonians came, then it probably just was moved. How was the siege of Jerusalem like? We need to ask that question. Did the people within Jerusalem, did they know that they were gonna lose beforehand when the Babylonians were invading them? We need to ask this question, because when you know that you're at disadvantage, you're more likely to go and protect your valuables, right? Did the Babylonian surprise attack them all out of the blue? Because again, if it was a surprise attack, they wouldn't have time to hide it. We need to ask these questions. There's a bunch of questions that you need to ask to really and truly figure this out. And then it's like, do we even have records of this? So like all mirrors that the Babylonians went and destroyed Jerusalem, that we know. I don't know. This is a very fascinating topic, I must say.
With such a famous and high-profile artifact like the Ark of the Covenant, there are several theories as to its current location. Some are better than others, so I've narrowed it down to 3 of the most plausible. Some early Jewish sources say that it was hidden in a safe location somewhere in the Judean desert. One of these is the second book of Maccabees. You won't find this book in all Bibles. It's what's known as an apocryphal text. In the centuries after the Babylonian exile, new biblical texts were composed. Examples include the Book of Jubilees and the Book of Enoch. Since they lacked the long history of tradition that books like Genesis or Exodus enjoyed, their canonical status has not quite been agreed upon. The second book of Maccabees is one of these apocryphal books, believed to have been written somewhere between 150 and 120 BCE. The book describes how just before the Babylonian invasion, the prophet Jeremiah had a premonition that the ark would be destroyed, and so decided to hide it in the wilderness. The book says that Jeremiah took it to, quote, the mountain where Moses had gone up and had seen the inheritance of God. This has been thought to refer to Mount Nebo in Jordan, the mountain from which Moses saw God's promised land in the book of Deuteronomy, although this is far from certain. After hiding the ark in a cave at the base of the mountain, along with some other temple paraphernalia, Jeremiah closed off the entrance. Some of his followers wanted to mark the site so that they could find it later, but the prophet stopped them from doing so, saying, quote, the place shall remain unknown until God gathers his people together again and shows his mercy. This somewhat cryptic biblical prophecy has not stopped many intrepid gravediggers from making illegal excavations around Mount Nebo, hoping to find the Ark, to which the Jordanian government monitors closely and prosecutes heavily.
Oh, I bet.
Much has been found nearby the mountain, but no secret cave containing the lost Ark of the Covenant. This has prompted...
Dude, like... There's so much lost to time, bro. There is so much lost to time that is just waiting to be discovered. Quite literally 99% of stuff has been lost to time. Just literally underground. Like, for example, like, I don't think you understand, like, really like how much stuff is lost to time. I forgot what they were called, but two English princes. Were they? It was two princes, either a prince or a princess, but they were two siblings. They were in a royal family, and basically they were executed. Right? They were executed. I forgot from who, but they were disposed of. And for a long time, nobody didn't know where the hell they were. It was a big mystery. Big mystery. A lot of theories were brought up, like what happened to them and whatnot. And they were discovered in a freaking parking lot. Yeah, their bones were discovered in a freaking parking lot, just in a casual area. Yeah, so that's insane, right? Just random parking lot. Like the last place that you'd think something like that will be discovered, right? So, with that in mind, really and truly, you just have to ask yourself, like, how much stuff is underground, and like a lot of stuff is just, we're just walking, quite literally every single day, walking on so much lost stuff. It's mind-boggling. It is.
Archaeologists to look at other mountains featured in the Bible, hoping to find the Ark there instead, particularly Mount Sinai, the place where Moses received the Ten Commandments. Problem is, however, no one actually knows where the original Mount Sinai is supposed to be, and so a whole other investigation gets underway. Most say that the biblical Mount Sinai is Jebel Musa in Egypt. This tradition goes back to the 6th century CE, when Christians built a monastery near the base of the mountain, but there's evidence to suggest that the actual Mount Sinai may be elsewhere. Here are all the possible locations that have been put forward for the biblical Mount Sinai. You can see that we're dealing with a very large geographical area, covering parts of Egypt, Saudi Arabia and Jordan. Any one of these locations could have a cave holding the Ark of the Covenant. Assuming, of course, that it hasn't already been discovered. One writer suggests that the Ark of the Covenant was already found during the Crusades by a group of knights known as the Templar. According to this theory, these knights were camped out near the ruins of Petra, Jordan. Having heard that the Ark may be hidden somewhere nearby, they began to search the area, eventually arriving at a mountain called Jebel al-Madba. At the base of this mountain, they reportedly stumbled across an unmarked cave. Lighting their torches, they ventured inside. Glinting in the torchlight lay golden treasures and ancient ornaments that had presumably remained undisturbed for thousands of years. But at the back of the cave, they found what they'd been looking for, the Ark of the Covenant. From here, it's been said that the Templars brought their treasures back to Europe, but they remained secretive about the Ark of the Covenant, which they jealously kept for themselves.
I'm not
Some
even
believe
surprised.
that it went to Chartres Cathedral in France. Others say it went to the estate of the English nobleman Ralph de Sudley. Others still say that it was taken to Ireland and then shipped off to the emerging American colonies. These stories raise some interesting possibilities, but as much as I'd like to believe in them, it's difficult to. You see, there's not a lot of valid evidence behind these theories. It's primarily speculation, relying on some pretty dubious source material. As such, these theories are typically dismissed by most historians and deemed to be the work of controversial and fringe writers. Returning back to our initial position, that the Ark was supposedly hidden in the Judean desert, one thing that is really going for this theory is that significant archaeological finds continue to be discovered in this region, particularly in desert caves. In 1946, two Bedouin shepherds were herding their goats near some ruins by the Dead Sea. Noticing small caves on the cliffside, they climbed up to have a look. In the caves, they found a collection of small clay pots. Breaking them open, they found a series of delicate scrolls and manuscript fragments. They had been incredibly well preserved due to the hot desert climate, and the ancient Hebrew was still legible. What was unknown to them is they had made the most significant archaeological find in biblical scholarship to this date. It's currently believed that these scrolls belong to a Jewish sect known as the Essenes, who hid these pots right before their community was attacked by the Romans, rather similar to how the Book of Maccabees said that the prophet Jeremiah hid the Ark shortly before the Babylonian invasion. Just like the caves containing the Dead Sea Scrolls lay unexplored for thousands of years, there may be other caves out there waiting to be discovered. If the stories are to be believed, then the Ark of the Covenant may be inside one of them. Unless, however, that the Ark was never hidden in the desert in the first place, but instead taken to Africa, as this next theory shall explore. For centuries, a group of Christians in Aksum, Ethiopia, have claimed to be in possession of the Ark. It's allegedly being held in a small chapel, but no one is allowed to see it. The story as to how the Ark may have ended up in Ethiopia can be found in the Kebra Nagast, a sacred chronicle of the country. In one story, it claims that King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba had a son together, whom they named Menelik. Although he was raised in Jerusalem, when he reached adulthood, Menelik had to return to the land of his mother's origin, Ethiopia. Before he left, however, some of Menelik's priests sneaked into the temple and secretly stole King Solomon's most precious object, the Ark. They replaced it with a flawless copy, impossible to differentiate from the original. On his journey home, Menelik discovered that the Ark was with him, but was surprised to see that no one had been harmed by its infamously destructive powers, not even the priests who had taken it. Interpreting this as a sign from God, he brought it back to Ethiopia and placed it in the holy city of Aksum. Legend has it that it's been there for 3,000 years and can be found in a small chapel at the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion. It's been guarded by an unbroken line of monks who are forbidden to leave the chapel grounds. No one from the outside world is allowed to enter.
Why? I don't understand why. Like, why do they? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like what? Why? Why? What do you not want someone to see something like that? You know what I mean? Oh no.
Despite this, there are some out there who have claimed to have been inside the chapel and have seen the Ark with their own eyes.
Oh,
British
really?
historian Edward Ullendorf, a professor of Ethiopian studies in London, is one of them. In an interview, he revealed to have been shown it secretly in 1941, while stationed there during the Second World War.
Oh.
However, he did not believe that it was genuine. Having inspected the Ark for himself, he described it as, quote, a wooden box, but it's empty. Middle to late medieval construction, when these were fabricated ad hoc. Since this revelation, scholars have doubted the claim that the Ark really is in Ethiopia. They regard the story of King Menelik as an attempt at national myth-making and a way for Ethiopian monarchs to justify their right to rule. Many Ethiopian Christians vehemently deny
that would make a lot of
these
sense.
claims, maintaining that the true Ark really is in their possession. To my mind, what would prove beyond a doubt that the Ark really is in Ethiopia would be if it was finally shown to the world, dispelling all the rumours claiming it's a hoax.
Yeah.
This actually nearly happened in 2009, when Patriarch Abune Paulos stated to the foreign press he would finally unveil it. Unfortunately, however, he retracted his offer the next day. As of now, the Ark of the Covenant supposedly remains in this Ethiopian chapel. Until the Ark is shown to the world voluntarily, or it is taken by force, as some have feared recently, this line of inquiry remains unresolved.
Yeah, we have a lot of countries that do that, you know, in an attempt to make some type of nationalistic or some type of just a way of justifying rule or an ethnic group or some shit like that. Yeah, we do see a lot of that where countries use like myth or legend or just something throughout history to base their like national identity on, or you know, it's just, you know, a lot of countries tend to do that, honestly or dishonesty. this honestly, yeah, yeah, I would not be surprised if that's just what Ethiopia is doing. All right.
For this final theory, we'll be returning to the Holy Land, back to the city where our search began, Jerusalem. Some believe that the Ark was hidden underneath the temple on the site on what's today known as Temple Mount. In the 12th century CE, Jewish scholar and philosopher Maimonides claimed to know the whereabouts of the Ark. He wrote that whilst building the temple, King Solomon had a warning from God that one day it would all be destroyed, including the treasures it was designed to protect.
Where did he get that
As a precaution,
info from?
King Solomon allegedly constructed a network of maze-like vaults so that the Ark could be safely kept underground. The account continues to state that King Josiah, who reigned during the last mention of the Ark in the Bible, used these underground chambers to secretly house the Ark before the arrival of the Babylonians. As it was located safely underground, it would have survived the collapse of the temple above, but as it was never seen or heard of again, perhaps no one came to collect it, and it may be still down there today. Even if you don't believe in the story offered by Maimonides, there are a number of rumours that there are indeed underground chambers beneath Temple Mount. Writing roughly 1,000 years before Maimonides, Jewish historian Flavius Josephus wrote about certain royal caves underneath the city of Jerusalem that were used to escape the Romans. That's an unusual descriptor, royal.
Yeah,
it seems to hint
royal.
at the idea that some of these caves were built during the reign of Israelite kings. In modern times, a number of underground networks have actually been discovered across Jerusalem. In 1854, archaeologists discovered a disused quarry that ran beneath part of the old city's Muslim quarter. Named Zedekiah's Cave, it covers an area of about 5 acres, and it's the largest cave network discovered beneath the city.
What?
Since then,
the heck?
Archaeologists have mapped out a whole subterranean network.
How long did it take for them to build this stuff, bro? Cave complexes will never fail to shock me. Especially people who built like cave complexes back then, like that would have had to taken a long time, right?
Underneath Jerusalem. Some of
A
these,
whole
like the Solomon
network?
Tunnel, date somewhere around the 9th to 8th century BCE, roughly the same time in which King Solomon is supposed to have reigned. But there's one place that has not been explored properly, the area underneath Temple Mount. The reason why no excavations have been carried out beneath Temple Mount is because there are a number of sacred structures that lie on top of it, the most prominent of which is the Dome of the Rock.
Makes
Initially
sense.
completed in 962 CE, the dome is a beautifully decorated Islamic monument that enshrines the rock where the Prophet Muhammad is believed to have ascended to heaven. The Dome of the Rock,
Oh wow.
as well as the nearby Al-Aqsa Mosque, are built atop Temple Mount, upon the site where Solomon's temple is believed to have stood. Just below Temple Mount is also the Western Wall, the last surviving portion of the Second Temple that was destroyed by the Romans. This wall is considered to be the holiest place in Judaism. Performing an excavation on Temple Mount would be controversial. It would risk upsetting a number of religious groups, as archaeological work beneath these structures could cause damage.
Figures, yeah.
This
Makes
hasn't
sense.
stopped some, however, from trying.
Ooh.
On the 28th of July 1981, a dispute broke out near the Western Wall. It had been discovered that someone had been performing an unlicensed dig beneath Temple Mount. This someone was Rabbi Yehuda Getz. He had been trying to find the Ark. Having been warned not to, Getz had organised a secret excavation beneath Temple Mount. The dig took place during the cover of night, and shortly into proceedings, a small opening was discovered, behind which there was a large tunnel, 28 metres long and 6 metres wide. The newly discovered tunnel was believed to connect to a number of chambers underneath Temple Mount. A small archway was discovered near the end. Getz was sure that behind this was the final resting place of the Ark. Before more work could be done, news about it was leaked on an Israeli radio station.
No way.
Shortly
Ain't no
after,
way.
Large crowds on either side of the religious divide gathered outside.
Ain't no way, bruh. Ain't no way.
And a fight broke out. The dig was banned, and further excavations were cancelled by authorities. Since then, the chambers beneath Temple Mount remain closed off.
Wow.
As you may be aware from recent political events in Jerusalem, the situation is still very tense. So for the time
it was so close. It was so close. Oh, he was so close too.
systematic excavation on Temple Mount is strictly forbidden. Whatever may be lying underneath Temple Mount continues to be out of reach.
Oh
In
my
recent
gosh,
years, however,
man.
There have been some new non-destructive methods to get glimpses as to what's beneath Temple Mount. One pioneering method is ground penetrating radar, or GPR. Using high-frequency radio waves, it maps out subterranean surfaces and then generates a blurry image. An advantage of this technique is that it's non-invasive. Nothing needs to be dug up or damaged. However, even the slightest amount of interference can manipulate the image. This can be caused by electricity or certain rocks, and in the ancient capital city of Jerusalem, there's plenty of both. As archaeological digs are not allowed to happen anytime soon, this could be the best way to finally locate the lost Ark of the Covenant. Nearing the end of our investigation, we're left with 3 theories as to the Ark of the Covenant's current location. 1. The Ark is hidden in a cave somewhere in the Judean desert, if it hasn't already been discovered. 2. The Ark is in a chapel in Ethiopia, having been guarded there for thousands of years. And 3. The Ark is still in Jerusalem, buried in a secret underground chamber below the site of the original temple. Each of these theories have their individual merits and flaws, but there's one problem that they all have in common. All 3 of our stories are based on written accounts that were composed many years after the Ark went missing. The
Yeah.
Apocryphal book, the second book of Maccabees,
Although the third one seems most plausible.
was written some 500 years after the Ark disappeared. The Ethiopian chronicle, the Kebra Nagast, was likely written in the 14th century CE.
Yeah.
And the Jewish scholar Maimonides, who claimed that the Ark was hidden in Jerusalem, lived in the 12th century CE.
Oh, wow.
None of these accounts are eyewitnesses. We don't know where they got their information from. All we're working with are anecdotes based on centuries and in some cases millennia old rumours. With such a lack of reliable evidence, critical investigation inevitably turns into speculation. It's also worth considering the limitations of using the Bible as a piece of historical evidence.
Yep.
While some passages can be linked to known historical events, they are often filtered through myth and written down centuries after the events were supposed to have happened. It's difficult to know where the truth ends and the mythology begins. To try to get to the bottom of this, we'll need to go back and examine the things that we do know. To do that, let's rewind back to the original starting point. We know that after the destruction of the temple in 587 BCE, the Ark is never mentioned again in the Bible. I've already mentioned that many have assumed that the Ark was destroyed during this time, and I've expressed my issues about working on the basis of an assumption. But looking back, perhaps I was too harsh. Maybe the Ark really
Like I said, too much of a coincidence.
is lost to history. During the exile, after the Babylonians invaded and sacked Jerusalem, the Israelites faced a crisis of religion. With the destruction of the temple and its sacred artifacts, God's physical presence on earth was now gone. For an ancient Israelite, this would have been an incredibly difficult reality to have to come to terms with, leading many to abandon their ancestral beliefs.
Oh, wow,
Yet it's
yeah.
during this time of grief and mourning when a number of changes begin to happen in the religion of these ancient people. Across the ancient Near East, a belief in a deity was based on things you could see, such as statues,
Right.
temples, or arcs. These things were now all gone, and belief began to move into something more immaterial. For the ancient Israelites, God was not something you had to see in order to worship. It was just something you believed in, despite the lack of physical evidence. It is during this time where the biblical texts were codified and written
Oh,
down.
shit.
The ancient Israelites put
Yo, let him cook.
in their shared stories, contained in their emerging holy texts. It is during
Oh my
this time
gosh.
where scholars mark the end
Oh my
of
gosh.
ancient Israelite religion and the start of Judaism.
Oh,
This
my
seismic
gosh.
shift in religious thought would have made sense if the Ark was indeed destroyed.
holy.
The cultic religion of ancient Israel had to adapt to the loss of the material symbols of the covenant. Perhaps then, those claiming to know the whereabouts of
Nah. Bro. This man cooked. Guys, I react to this so much. But yo, this is probably the smartest thing that I've ever heard. Maybe the most smartest thing or smartest theory that I've ever heard in my damn life. Like, this is groundbreaking stuff here. What? This man just put a whole new revelation to me. What the hell?
Of the Ark are clinging onto something that may have already been lost.
I can't.
Unable to move on from their grief, they hold on to the hope that the Ark is still out there. Or maybe, just maybe, they know something that we don't. Perhaps there is an undiscovered cave out there in the Judean desert that contains the temple's most valuable treasures. Or that the chapel in Ethiopia really does guard the Ark of the Covenant and it's not an elaborate hoax, as some have suspected. Or that the Ark is safely hidden in a subterranean chamber somewhere underneath Temple Mount, in the same place it went missing all those many years ago. If any of these theories are indeed right on this, and the Ark of the Covenant really is out there waiting to be found, it would make for the greatest discovery in archaeological history. However, perhaps we should exercise caution, considering how dangerous this artifact is supposed to be. Perhaps some things are best left undisturbed.
And you know, that's God's, like, I say everything is God's will. So, I don't know. Yeah, nothing much. Well, from physical to just having faith, that is mind-blowing. That is mind-blowing, bro. And the fact that the old Israelite religion ended around that same time and turned into the modern Judaism. What the hell? This was a good video. This was a banger video. Like, actually, this is a banger video. Look, if you know any videos like this that you will love to see my reaction to, that I will love to react to, commentate in the comments below. Okay, this video was by a channel member. Okay, recently I had someone get angry at me because he gave me a video suggestion that I didn't do it yet, and he was like, well, what's the point of giving a video suggestion if you're not gonna do it? Dude, I have so many people. This is why I always tell people, if you're an active viewer of mine, I have a channel membership. It's only 99 cents a month, and I purposely made it cheap, okay? The main perks being your suggestions are done quicker, you have more priority, you get more updates on what's going on so that you don't feel left out, etc, etc. Okay, I'm just gonna link the video in the comments to all the perks that you get. Okay, this is why I always say, hey, every single time, like, yo, check out the channel membership. Check out the channel membership. It is worth it. It's only 99 cents a month. Anyways, man. Again, banger video, like, subscribe, turn the bell notifications on, man. Check out my other reactions like this on my channel, man. Thank you for watching. And goodbye.